inspire you to find a simple way to do your business, because only if something is simple can it be duplicated and can it be done, right? And so this is actually the workshop I do in person, and I like it in person because then there's interaction. So now I can't see your faces or anything like that, but that's okay. So this is the workshop I do on how to do your business. And of course, it is tailored to doing your Swiss Bionic business, either with the IMAS or the Omnium, but it could be used to do any business. So these are simple ideas that will work for you if you just follow them. So, and it is my belief that if you aren't making a difference in other people's lives, you shouldn't be in business, right? And I hope everybody agrees with that, because that's what we are all about. We are making a difference in people's health and in their wealth with PMF technology. So, you know, people always say, and maybe you have that too, well, if your technology is so good, why haven't I heard about it? And when somebody says that to you, you can act totally surprised and say, oh, I'm surprised you haven't heard about it, right? And you can add a little bit of the history that PMF is actually very, can I ask people to maybe mute themselves because there's a lot of background noise? Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay. So PMF is actually over 5,000 years than any of the painkillers or any of the pharmaceuticals that are on the market today. It is older than aspirin. And there are actual approvals for PMF technology, such as in 79 FDA approval for bone growth, 91 US approval post-operative pain, 98 urinary incontinency, FDA in 2011 for brain cancer and pain. I have to add, it is for a particular type of brain cancer. And in 2014, we received the medical device license by Health Canada. I realized that the IMAS is already a medical device in Europe. And today, PMF is in 57 countries as one of the frontiers in health and wellness. Why? Because it is effective for basically just about every disease known to mankind, right? So, and then people usually ask for research. I'm not sure whether you have that problem as well. People always want research. And the question to ask people is, what kind of research are you looking for? And before we go further, I have to make a very, very important point in doing your business. Your business will only work and you will only ever be able to sell and bring people on your team if you ask questions. We have to ask people questions. Why? Because we want to know who they are. We want to know what they're all about, where they're coming from, what they're looking for. And it is only through questions that we can build an authentic relationship with our client or our new Swiss Bionic rep. And if you really let that sink in, that is one of the most important aspects of the business. Because the mistake many of us make is we bombard people with information which they didn't even ask. And in the process, we learn nothing about the person we are dealing with. And why is it important to ask people questions? Because when you ask them questions, not only do you get to know them, but you have ammunition down the road to either persuade them, to purchase the technology or become part of your team by using their own arguments. And as we go through this workshop, we will come up with some examples. So when people ask for research, ask them, what kind of research are you looking for? And you can match the research to the customer or the healthcare professional. So as you can see, there is a website, and you can write that down. Or if you simply Google pubmed.org, you actually come up with this website. And there, this is peer-reviewed studies, and there you can search for PMF or electromagnetic therapy. There are like different terms that you can use, plus the condition. So if somebody, for example, has arthritis, and then, sorry, somebody just came in. Yeah, if somebody has arthritis, for instance, then they can go on this website, and they can search for arthritis, and together with PMF, and they find studies. As a matter of fact, there are 20,000 peer-reviewed, just a second, Sabine, yeah. There are 20,000 peer-reviewed studies about PMF and any type of condition you can possibly think of. It also helps, for instance, when people lie on the mat or the pillow, then they usually say, I don't feel anything, because people are so used to feeling something or wanting to experience something. So the first thing I say to them is, you know what? It doesn't matter whether you feel anything. Most people don't feel anything. What matters is how your body reacts and how you feel after you get off. And for those of you who were on our previous webinar, we talked about that it takes 8 minutes for all the cells to resonate with their own frequencies. And the effect sets in after all your cells resonate, not while you're on it, right? That's the important part. And then you can use an electromagnetic field meter or magnetic field detector to make the magnetic fields that come out of the mat either audible or visible. And so, we have Micmac handies at our company that I'm sure you know. Failing that, you can download cell phone apps to show electromagnetic fields, and then what I do is when people are lying on it, I use these meters and I turn them on, and then I turn off the mat, and then people can hear that all of a sudden these fields stop, and then I turn on the mat again, and then the sound comes on, so they can actually feel. And you can also show them that, when you move the meter away, that electromagnetic fields actually extend 3D for about 2 or 3 feet surrounding the mat. And after that, they begin to weaken. So I think for people that, it's a good experience to feel that. And then also, and that's also an important part of explaining the human cell and the cell's permeability to the person that you're dealing with. And that can be very, very simple. A healthy cell needs -70 to -90 millivolts to have permeability. Permeability means nutrients can be absorbed, minerals, oxygen can be transported through the tissue and the organs, and toxins can be released. So that is the biological process of a human cell. And the cell needs -70 to -90 millivolts to produce the energy that it needs to replicate itself into a new healthy cell. Dysfunctional cells have minus 20 to minus 30 millivolt, which is a decrease in energy. And as soon as energy decreases, the cell can no longer replicate into a healthy cell. And we become sick, we develop diseases, and right down to cancer. And that is very important, right? For people to understand how their own cells work. And that can be very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. But I think a lot of people actually need to learn that they have 75 trillion cells. A lot of people don't even know. And a lot of people don't even know that they need the electromagnetic field to survive and to thrive, right? And lucky enough, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but for us in North America, you know, the benefits and the research on PMF becomes more and more available, and it's more and more recognized, right? So that helps us a lot here. And you'll be amazed what you find on PubMed. So with PMF, you can actually reset your DNA, because PMF modalities are simple, safe, less costly than conventional medicine. And most importantly, PMF treat the cause, not the symptom, right? And we talked about that in our last webinar, how important that is, you know, because our medical system is built around symptom. Everybody loves their disease. Everybody owns their disease. Everybody associates with their disease until they become their disease, forever dealing with symptoms, but never with the cause. And you can only deal with a disease if you want to deal with the cause of a disease on the cell level. That's where disease starts. And that is also where we have to promote healing and where we have to promote cell renewal so the body can do what it does best, repair itself. And you also need to know, so that you can explain this to people. And Stephen, I can make this PowerPoint, I can send it to you, and then you can give it to everybody, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think people would like to have that as a memory jogger.
Great.
Yeah, because you also need to understand the triple sawtooth wave, which is in the IMAS mat or the omnium mat, which is the most powerful, and the difference between the square wave, which is in the IMAS pillow and rope, as well as the pillow and the spot for the omnium. And why is that important? Because, you know, people need to understand that when they purchase a PMF system, it's a two-way street. You know, with the whole body mat, I affect my entire body, meaning 75 trillion cells. And with the applicators such as Pro, Pillow, or Spot, you know, I treat particular areas or work on particular areas in my body and not on the whole body. If you don't know the difference, and if you can't point the difference out to people, you will find them using their pillow, thinking they get the same effects as they do from the whole body back. And we've had that, right? So the whole body mat with a triple sawtooth waveform energizes all cells. It balances the immune system. It optimizes metabolism. It reduces pain. So if somebody has like fibromyalgia or all over pain, it helps to detox on a daily basis for every single cell. It counteracts sleep disorders. It increases blood circulation. And it is total anti-aging from the inside. And also what it does, it counteracts wireless and other forms of radiation in our environment that is impairing our cell function through frequencies that are way outside of the biological window of human cell frequencies. And we're all affected. So we are basically being Wi-Fi'd all day, and we don't know how to escape it because it's everywhere. So we all need to do something to counteract the effects and restore our cell function again. So, and this is why when people say, well, I can't afford it, I don't have the money and all that, then people can't afford in this day and age to not have a PMF system. And even more important, this is a technology through which you can actually build a very rewarding business if you just go out and do it. And then again, like the square wave, it promotes cell growth. It actually increases cell growth 4 times on healthy cells, right? On cells where it matches the frequency of the biological window of human cell frequency. It produces tissue repair and it reduces pain, right? And this is basically in a nutshell what people need to know, right? And you also need to know a little bit about the difference between PMF and EMF. PMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic fields, and EMF simply stands for electromagnetic fields, irrespective of their frequency. So knowing the difference, that EMF have higher frequencies, they're continuous, they're constants, they're ionizing and non-ionizing. That means they can produce heat and they can damage tissue in the body through heat, and they can produce tumors such as cell phones, cell phone towers, smart meters, baby monitors, microwaves, and all these technologies that we are surrounded with all day long. And because our cells don't recognize these frequencies, they are nevertheless affected by it, and our cells begin to function optimally, and cell charge is dropped when we are exposed to these high frequencies in our environment. And PMF are low-level magnetic fields. They're time-varying, they're pulsating fields, and they have beneficial effects on human health. And you also need to help people understand why they need the Earth magnetic field for their cells, that without it, we cannot function. And people talk a lot about like grounding, and they talk about, being outdoors. So basically today, we need the Earth's magnetic field, as we always have, for optimum cell function. But today, through our interference with high frequency technology, as well as this high frequency technology disrupts our access to the beneficial magnetic field of the Earth. So our cells no longer function anymore. And what are the results of that? People have chronic conditions that they never had before. Cancer is on the rise. People are depressed, different various forms of depression. People have no energy. People are not focused. They develop fibromyalgia, arthritis, osteoporosis. North America has severely poor sex lives, and you may laugh, but that's also, and infertility. Our young people have difficulties to become pregnant. So to me, since I know so much about EMFs, because I learned it so much in my past 11 years, our exposure to electromagnetic fields in our environment, like higher frequencies and all the technology, it's actually a crime on humanity, because it is slowly making us sick, but we don't feel it. So the human body cannot feel electromagnetic fields, and the human body cannot determine between which electromagnetic fields or which frequencies are beneficial to our health and which ones are not, because we don't have an organ to detect when enough is enough. But our body, with its 75 trillion cells that are within a biological window of human cell frequencies, which is from 0.5 to 30 hertz, does resonate with its own frequencies, and that raises the cell charge, and the effects last for 6 hours. So that helps us protect ourselves, apart from, counteracting the majority of the diseases that you find in your environment, or being supportive towards those diseases. But it also helps us to be protected from the damage of wireless and other forms of radiation in our environment. Okay? So now let's talk a little bit about selling. Very interesting. I don't look at this business as selling. And I think if you stop looking at from a selling point and actually build relationships and realize that we don't really sell a product, we have a solution to a problem that everybody on this planet is suffering from. Right? Because 80% of the people in industrialized nations suffer from some form of chronic condition, right? It may also be like a lot of people, they don't have restorative sleep, right? And when you don't sleep well, you also get sick and you don't feel well. You can't accomplish anything. So if you detach yourself from the idea of selling and realize that you actually have a very powerful solution to people's problems, and you have an additional solution to people's income problems. Because once you purchase a PMF system, your whole life will turn around. Because not only do you feel better, but you become more balanced, you become more optimistic, because your entire system, including your hormones, will be balanced, and you have much more energy, and you will be excited. And at the same time, you have a business opportunity where you can help others come on board and offer the same solution, and you can show others how they can make substantial commission, such as is almost unheard of in this entire direct selling industry, right? So when we look at our interaction with people, I see a lot of our people being heavily invested into, I want to make sales, right? But if you understand the people that you encounter, they don't care how much you know about PMF. They want to know how much you care about them. Hence, the secret of selling lies in asking questions. Okay, so what type of questions would they be? So let's go through an example, right? You meet somebody, it could be in the elevator, it could be in the grocery store, and you say, how are you today? And, oh, well, I'm fine. And you get into a conversation, and then they say, I just woke up, with back pain this morning. Or I'm on my way to the hospital because my father is in the hospital because he had a stroke, all right? All those kind of things. 80% of the people have a health problem, so you know that. And so then this person says, for instance, I've got terrible back pain. Most of our reps at that point would say, what? I have just the thing for you. It's PMF, and it was on Dr. Oz, and there's all this research out there, and 1.5 million people all use it. And you know what the other person thinks? I am really not interested, okay? I don't care what you know. This is about me. So a much better way would be to ask that person, for how long have you had your back pain? Say the person is 5 years. What have you done about it? Well, let's say I've been going to the chiropractor, I'm going to massage therapists, I'm going to acupuncture. Okay. How is that working for you? Because if it was really working, they wouldn't have back pain, right? So how's that working for you? Well, you know, I just keep going back, and every time I go, it gets better, and then I have to go back to the chiropractor, massage therapist, whatever that may be. And so then you say, so Joe, let's call this person Joe. It's not really working, is it? Or else you wouldn't be going there for the last 3 or 4 years, right? You haven't found resolve for the cause. You've just found relief for the symptom. Is that correct, Joe? Yes. Okay, so you get the person to agree with you. And you can only do that when you ask them questions. All right, so you got the person to agree by restating their case. And then you say, Joe, would you be interested in learning about something that could actually, instead of just managing your symptom, get rid of your pain? Like something you could do at home? Technology? No pills, no potions, no visits? And then the person would have to say yes, right? And then you can give them the information as it pertains to their particular scenario. And the same is, you know, when it comes to the business, you could ask a person and say, so what do you do for a living? Oh, well, you know, I work at the reception at a fitness club. You like it? Well, yeah, it's okay, you know? And you could ask, so for how long have you worked there? Well, for the last year. And are you there full-time? No, I would love to work full-time, but I only get part-time. And then you say, so you're already in the business where you care about people, you care about their health and their fitness level. Would you be interested in something where you could help people's health and your own wealth? Would you be? Would you be? Would you like? These are the questions to ask, all right? To actually get people to agree to look at something, either be it an opportunity or a technology or both. It's would you like, would you be? Would you want, right? And this is how you build relationships. It's the same, you know, when you have, and we all have people that use our PMF technology, and they're extremely excited about it because it has changed their lives. What do we do with these people? Now you have somebody, you know, who has a PMF system, they're thrilled about the results, but they're not in the business, or they say, I don't want to sell, right? So you could ask that person, who else do you know that would like to benefit from PMF technology the way you did? And you know who that will be? It'll be all their friends and all their relatives, because who wouldn't want to share good results? And then you just ask them, would you mind if I talk to your mother-in-law? Would you mind if I talked to your neighbor on your behalf, right? And actually through this method, I have been able to get a number of people into the business because ultimately they wanted to, because when it comes to the point of, do I give Allie the sale or do I get the commission myself? And I showed them how easy it is to become a rep and make the commission yourself. You know, that's how and some of our reps here in Canada were able to expand their business, you know, because then you get into the people they know, right? So then it's no longer a cold market, right? So if you look after your customer and you build a relationship with them, you will definitely get referrals. And I also always recommend, you know, use videos that speak to you. You know, we got a lot of videos, they're all over YouTube, testimonials, and your own website links with Bionic, right? So that people know you are in the business. I have also come across, and this is a very interesting one, a lot of our reps that share the technology and are very excited about the technology, and then they walk away from the customer because they never told them that they are actually selling it, because maybe somehow they seem to be embarrassed or they don't want to sell, right? You have to let people know that you are a distributor, but not in an apologetic way. I have to tell you, for the last 11 years, I have been so proud to be part of this company, part of the people behind it, such as Wolfgang, Veronica, Manu, Thomas, you know, all the people that are in the company, and in our office people, right, that are here, like Greg in the US, Sabine in our Canadian office. So I have been so proud to represent this technology, and I've never apologized to anybody for selling. I have never apologized for receiving commission. Okay? Because I think that making money in a business is a natural process. You just pick which technology you are passionate about, right? Okay, let's move on. Now, in order to have passion and to stick to the business, you need to know why you're in the business, okay? Why do you do what you do? So for instance, today, when everybody is on this webinar, you have to ask yourself, why are you here listening to me? What do you want to get out of it, right? Why did you join this business in the first place? And I don't care, you know, whether you joined 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 3 days ago. The why is in the forefront of everything. I can tell you, I can share my why with you. I want to change your health and your wealth. And that is the why that keeps me going, that keeps me passionate, and that always makes me feel responsible for the people, not only that I've sold the technology to, but also brought into the business. I feel responsible to give them my best every day and share my best every day, right? But that is my why. And when my why or your why is big enough, any of the obstacles don't matter. Because when your why is crystal clear, you do what other people don't do, or those who don't have a why. You know, there are people that come into a business and say, well, I'm just going to check it out and see whether it works for me or not, right? So your why has to be crystal clear. And every time you run against the brick wall, or you think you run against a brick wall, to me, that has always been somebody or something is testing my why, and I go back into my why and I go through the brick wall, right? So that's very important. So now that when you know your why, then you also have to know what exactly is it that you do. So we know we do the PMF Omnium or the PMF IMIS, and we want to help people become healthy and wealthy. I mean, that's a huge why. You know, that should drive anybody's passion. But if you forget the why, then sometimes you don't know anymore why you're in this business. And then some of the problems, you know, become mountains when in fact they're just little obstacles to overcome. And we also sell the solution to people's problems, not a product. We sell a solution. You know, we sell a lifestyle. We sell an income base, right? This is what we do. It's never just the technology alone, although that is pretty exciting, the technology. And I could never get excited about, you know, selling a product that doesn't make a difference in people's lives to the extent that PMF does. we are just on the verge of huge acceptance for PMF, because you see all the studies, right? And if you really dig, then you find out, right, that PMF is highly recognized, very credible, and you just have to share that with people, right? So, and we have it all. We have ISO certification, Health Canada licensing. PMF has been on Dr. Oz, which is huge here in North America. We're FDA registered. You are registered in Europe as a medical device. We have NASA technology. I'm not supposed to use this logo in public, but we're not in public. We're in a small group, right? And we have the medical device certification. So we can go and sell and change the world. We are changing lives. We are not selling a product that people consume. We are changing lives. And that is what gets me so excited, right? So now that you know your why and you are certain about what you do, you also need to know, how do you do what you want to do? What do you need for your how? You need a goal, you need a plan, and you need a timeline. Again, very simple. So let's use an example, okay? And I find it easier, to say, okay, we could say, how many dollars would you like to earn per month? Okay, so let's say you're in the Omnium plan and you're on the 6G level, which is not that hard to do. Or you sell the IMS and you receive commission. And I don't know what that is in your currency, so I can only share it with you in Canadian dollars, right? So let's say on average, you receive $1,000 per unit that you sell. And if you build an organization, you also receive override, right? So let's say you wanted to make $10,000 a month, okay? Not too shabby. How many sales would you need? 10 per month. How many leads would you need to get 10 sales, right? How many would that be? So that's our plan. Sorry, I just accidentally clicked. And how do you get those leads? Well, you get those leads through the people that you know, right? And we go back to the old-fashioned way of, when you start this business, or even if you're in this business, how many of you have actually made a list of people that you know? Good question. Because we think this is so old-fashioned, making a list, right? And we don't want to do it. And a lot of people, when they make their list, even if they do make their list, what they do is they prejudge people. So that means I'm sitting down now, I'm making my list, and I begin and I say, oh, Judas, no, I don't think she has the money. So I'm eliminating Judas. And Betty, no, because she just got a new job. And Joe Blow, no, I think, he just got a divorce and he's wrapped up in other things. This is how a lot of people do their lists, and they eliminate people based on how they judge this person's present life or financial situation. And that is the worst thing you can do, because now all of a sudden you have taken away that opportunity from that person, and you're not allowing them to participate based on your judgment about them. So when I talk about making a list, it has to be everybody on that list, everybody that you know, no judgment. And again, when you call the people, and as you go along in the business, you add to the list. You go to the grocery store, you talk to somebody and then you add them, right? You take their business card, you add them, you give them, you ask their permission. Okay, so, you know, would you like to be pain-free? Are you interested? Yes. May I have your card or your phone number or your email, whichever method you prefer, and may I be allowed to send you some information? And by then, I've already built a relationship with the person because I'm a very authentic person. I don't work by script or anything. I'm very authentic. So then I say to I also say to the person, I only want to send you information so you can educate yourself about an alternative of how you can become pain-free. I'll never bother you if you don't want to be bothered, and I'll never try to sell you anything because I believe you are intelligent enough that I don't need to sell you anything, because people don't like to be sold. People like to make their own decision as to whether they want something or not. And that's also called respect, right? So now you made your list and you call up people. And what a lot of people do when they call other people, they start out, well, have you heard? Guess what? I'm in this new business. It's so phenomenal. And if you did that to me, I would think, well, ask me if I care. You know, whether you want a new business, whether it's wonderful, why would I care, right? So you ask them questions. How are you? What is new in your life? Or I haven't talked to you for a long time, right? And so you ask questions, and throughout the question ask, you may arrive at a point where you can say to the person, particularly when they ask you, how have you been, right? So, well, I got involved with a company, so now you get to share, right? But on the person's turn, without overwhelming them with information to begin with, right? Once you pique their interest, then they will ask you questions. Okay. So, and here's the important part. If you want 10 sales a month, how many leads do you need? You need 100 leads. And you must talk to 10 people a day. So you have to make the commitment to set 2 hours a day aside to just make phone calls or conversations, or, talking to people, going to an event. But you must speak to 10 people a day if you want 10 sales. You have to speak to 100 people and you have to invest 2 hours a day. And that is to build the foundation of your business. Okay, and there is no way around it, right? And a lot of people do not want to do that. Why? Because they are afraid of rejection. They are afraid I'm going to sound stupid. I don't want to push people. I don't want to bother people. People always tell or talk about the things they don't want to do. When I'm only interested, if you're in my organization, I'm interested in what is it that you want to do, not what you don't. Don't tell me what you don't want to do, right? What is it that you want to do? And if you tell me you want to do the business and you give me your why you want to do the business, this is what you have to do. 2 hours a day. And I'm going to make this job a lot easier for you and release you from the fear of rejection. Because when I talk to 10 people a day, or ask people in my organization to talk to 10 people a day, what I do like you to do is to detach yourself from the outcome. What do I mean by that? Pick up the phone. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And you pick up the phone and you talk to people and you ask them questions about themselves, about their lives, where they are, what your future plans are. You get into their health or you get into their business, and you always have a solution for them. It is up to them to take it or not. That's why I detach myself from the outcome. So I pick up the phone and I talk to somebody about this business, about their health. In the back of my mind, I always think, I don't care if you buy this technology, nor do I care whether you ever join my business, right? I just want to share this with you and see if I can help you. But it is your choice to pursue the technology, the business, or both. Okay, so that is just how I think, so that's how I can never get disappointed. I never feel rejected, because if somebody says no to the technology or to the business, it is their loss. Because you know what? I can really help everybody, but I will not be able or allowed to help everybody, because not everybody sees opportunity or the benefit of this technology yet. But still, if they don't, I simply respect that, and I say, would you have any objections if I kept you informed periodically of what's happening in the industry, Joe? Because you never know, down the road you might be interested, right? And this is how I get people on my email list, and then forward whenever there's new information available. Okay, you maintain that relationship. All right. And if you go to different industries, like for instance, a fitness club, or we're right now working on, with some of my reps of getting this technology into a company for their employees, for employee health and wellness. So, and again, instead of running in there, which some have done, and of course it wasn't successful, but just because something isn't successful in one way doesn't mean another time it won't be, right? So you never ever give up. And again, for fitness industry, for example, you ask them questions. Would you like to have happier, healthier, and more productive employees in just 8 minutes? Who can say no to that? Right? You always ask the open-ended question, where for the most part, when you start a question with, would you like to hear about this? Would you like to have an extra income or a healthcare practitioner? Would you like to have another revenue stream that is passive? Where you don't have to hire anybody, where you don't have to have trained professionals to run the technology. Would you like to have, that's the most, or would you like to be healthier and happier and have a better quality of life? Those would you like to have or be questions, I have learned, are the most important questions. They're also non-threatening questions, because they allow the person to say yes or no, all right? So think of, would you like to have or would you like to be? Go to bed tonight with that thought on your mind and make that part of everything that you do from here on, right? So there are various markets such as the fitness industry, corporate wellness, healthcare professionals, insurance, spa, salons, resorts. And again, would you like to have or be? And here is another good tip. If any of you have more than one PMF device, here in Canada, a lot of our reps do, and they make their second device available either for a healthcare professional to use for a week, a fitness club, corporate wellness, a salon, spa, resort, and again, the question is, would you like to try this device, this technology, in your professional setting for a week free of charge? Would you like to? Or could the answer be, yeah, sure, I'd like to try it. Oh no, I'm not really interested. Either way is good, right? Either way is good. And Sometimes, when somebody says, oh, I'm not interested, or I'm not busy, I'm too busy, so I can't do this right now, or, we don't have the space in our facility, or my husband doesn't want me to spend any more money because I already spent enough. So you could just ask for their help. Meaning, do you know of anyone that would be interested? Do you know of anyone I could approach? Right? And you'll be amazed what kind of answers or leads. I just had our accountant call me this morning and say, I've got somebody in my neighborhood. She just opened a salon and I told her about this technology, and I can send her your information. She'd like to hear about it, right? So even if your accountant says, I am not interested, well, if you know of anyone that is, please let me know. People do like to help when you ask for help. That's also a given, right? Okay. So now comes the most important part. You have to be committed to your plan. You have to do it every day. You be passionate and you stay focused. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And this is how people succeed in anything, no matter what it is. And that sets consistency and focus, sets the successful people apart from those who constantly find reasons why this doesn't work, why it can't work, why the time is right, why it's too expensive. Like all these reasons hinder people from actually succeeding. And then there are those people, and I don't know who of you belongs to this group, but I have to address it, okay? And I always do. There are those people that have the greatest idea with this business, and they are forever planning. And when I talk to them, they share their plans about the business, but they're not doing it. They're always planning. They're waiting for the right time. They're waiting for the right business card. They're waiting for, I am finished my business plan. Well, let me tell you something. You don't need a business plan with this business, because your business will unfold as you do it, and it will take you in directions that you never thought possible if you are open-minded about your business. But the people that are constantly planning, in their mind, they do the business, but they're really not. Because the only way to do this business is if you do it every day and if you commit a minimum of 2 hours. And does everybody have 2 hours a day? Some people may say, no, I'm too busy, right? Everybody has 2 hours a day. Because if something is important to you, you make the time. Even the most busiest people can find the time for something that is important, because you're laying the foundation to build an organization in your business so that you have people below you, hopefully, that are also selling, and you have to offer them a way on how they can do this simply. Because if it's not simple, it is not duplicatable, right? So by putting your energy deliberately into a single focus, you generate momentum and you make progress. That's the most important thing I want you to learn today. Putting your energy deliberately into a single focus, you generate momentum and you make progress, right? Extremely important, right? And if you have problems, staying focused, then you should write this down and put this somewhere where you can read it every day. Because the amazing thing will happen. If you stay focused, you build momentum in your business. And if you put your energy into it, then that will reflect in your efforts on building your business. It will also be rewarded by those that you bring into this business, right? And so I think like putting your energy in one thing, and believe me, when I go around in 11 years, I always come across the next best thing, the next best opportunity. And, you know, people always come up with this direct selling thing, with that direct selling thing. And then it goes from socks to lotions to potions, right? And people always try that and they spread themselves thin. So I'm not saying that this business is the only thing you can do, but you have to take 6 months of putting 2 hours in every day to build an organization. And then when you have an organization, of course, you look after your organization and you train new leaders to do the same, right? And I mean, this is all I do, right? Because I'm also the president, but we have people that do very well in this business and they put focus on their business every day, but they also do other things, but they become successful in this business because they build the foundation every day, right? Okay, so, and here is the quote that everybody knows, just do it, right? Do not sell, always ask questions. Realize that people want to belong to something bigger than themselves, right? And so now we get a little bit into dealing with objections. So some of the objections are, oh, it's too expensive, right? Instead of defending yourself, ask compared to what, right? What are you comparing it? And I say to people, well, if you don't understand what this technology is and how it works on your body, even if it was only $500, it would be too much, right? But if you understand what PMF does on the cell level and for your health and possibly for your wealth, you know, if you decide to, then you have a health and wellness device in your home for the rest of your life, for your entire family, for pretty well every condition you could possibly suffer from, right? And it also protects you against wireless and other forms of radiation. And if you take all that in consideration, it should be $20,000. And then people say, well, yeah, if it really does what it says it does, I guess you're right, right? So then another objection is for people, yeah, I see the benefits and I would really like to own one, but I don't have the money. I'm sure you get that too. Then I say, let's call her Sue. Then I say, okay, Sue, do you drive a car? Yes. Okay. What kind of car? She's like, Volvo, BMW, whatever it may be. So if the engine of your car broke today, what would you do? Well, I'd have to get a new engine. Yeah, but you just told me you don't have any money, right? So would you go by bus? Oh, I would get a new engine. So you do have the money, or you would find it. Well, Sue, your engine is broken because you told me you have back pain, you have this, you have that. You see how asking question comes in to your aid at the end, and you can actually reason with people and make them see, right? And so by asking questions, you help people overcome these objections themselves, right? Okay, let's say Sue said, I don't have any money, and I say, do you drive a car? And she says, no. And I actually had this very, very exact situation in Victoria last week. There was a younger man, and he didn't have a car, okay? So I said, do you drink coffee? He said, yeah. And I said, where do you go for coffee? He said, oh, I love Starbucks. And I said, how often do you go? And it turned out he gets his coffee from Starbucks in the morning, and he gets his coffee from Starbucks in the afternoon. And I said, okay, my friend, here are $8 a day in coffee, right? Times 30 is $240. So even if you don't have the money, you just freed up $240 where you could finance it or put it on your credit card and pay it off. You actually, with 2 coffees, you could afford 2, but you only need 1, right? Sometimes people need this type of help so they can make better decisions, right? People go on holidays, people buy large screen TVs, people buy designer clothes. People have become shopaholics without even knowing. For a lot of people, when they go online shopping, it's not even shopping anymore because it's part of their entertainment of the day, right? So you just have to help people realize how they can find money for the unit. And also, you know, if they then share it with somebody, you know, they also have an opportunity to get their investment back, 3 sales or so, right? They're almost there. So that's pretty exciting. And I mean, I have woken up people to a lot of their objections in a very bold way, but I have never offended them. I've gone all the way to say, you know what? If you can improve the quality of your life, what would it be worth to you, right? I have said to people, you know, you've got health conditions, X, Y, Z. And any health condition you have, there are only 2 choices. It gets better or it gets worse, but it never stays the same. So you have to be prepared to live with increased pain or intensification of your symptoms for your XYZ condition in the future, unless you do something. You've told me you've done A, B, C, and that didn't help you. Would you like to improve the quality of your life? I sure do. Well, BMF is cheaper than a funeral, right? And how would you like to stay at home and not live your life, you know, because you don't find any relief from your symptoms? How would you like to continue to wake up in the morning and always feel like you have no energy left or no focus to do anything? Would you like to continue to live that way? No. Would you like to do something about it? Yes. Can I help you? All right. So, I mean, this may be a different way of doing business or talking to people, but it is an authentic way. And, you know, I want to talk also a little bit about authenticity with you, right? I don't even know what time it is because I'm checking it here. I got a few more minutes, okay? So when your why is big enough, obstacles do not matter. Always get back to your why, always get back to your how, and always get back to your plan. In short, always stay on focus, right? So be authentic and people fall in love with you. The right people. Not everybody will like you, not everybody will accept you, and not everybody will become part of your team or your tribe or believe in the same things that you do. But you know what? If you are authentic and if your motives are ethical, that you truly want to help people, then it doesn't matter because the right people will come to you and you can live with those that don't like you because it doesn't matter. But if you are authentic, people will fall in love with you. Why? Because people love authentic people, because it is so refreshing to come across somebody in your everyday life that is authentic. Why? Because most people no longer are authentic. In particular, people that are in sales, okay, because they work by a script. They are being told what they have to say. They're being told who they have to be, right down to how they have to dress, right? In our company, you can be whoever you are and be authentic. And today, a lot of people are like gift boxes, okay? Why would I make that analogy? Because most of us are gift boxes. Some have prettier wrapping papers and nicer bows than others. But we are gift boxes, meaning people have to unwrap us to find out what's inside. They have to peel through layers and layers to find out who we really are, you know, because a lot of us, you know, put on a faith or a personality that we believe is being accepted. And if you look at Wolfgang, you know, he's totally authentic. And people like authentic people, and we like you to be authentic. We have no expectation in, you know, who you have to be. And too seldom are we like oranges, because an orange, you don't have to peel an orange to know what's inside, right? And that is the most refreshing. And you know also why it is so important to be your authentic self, because all your qualities, the best of you, the unique you, and what you can do in the business, what somebody else may not be able to do, lies within your being authentic, right? So join the crazy people who are changing the world. That's one of my favorite slides. So spread your good energy and go and share this amazing technology and this amazing business opportunity in your most authentic way with the world. Okay, thank you very much. I have to go. I have another appointment and we will do this again.
Allie, thank you. That was interesting, and lots of points that we all have to work on. I look forward to having you on the air sometime, maybe before Christmas, if you'll do it again for us.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, and I send you a copy of this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you from us all. I think everyone can hear you now as they say goodbye.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Allie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until the next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, folks.
Right, Stevie.
I did.
Can you hear you?
Yeah.
Stand out from it, Stephen.
Night, Stephen.
Good night.
Good night.
Who is that?
That's myself.
Oh, it's the man himself. That's right.
Exactly.
I don't know what's going on. Here you go.
Oh, there you go. Huh? All right, man.
Yeah. That'll do.
I'll,
Speak to you soon.
I'll give you a bell. Right. Okay.
Give me a bell before you go to bed, because there's some information come in there today you'll want.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks
Sure,
a lot. Good night, folks.
Right.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Stephen. Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.